My friends, do you know why I have to talk about drugs over and over again? Because in human history, there are few things like drugs, seemingly affecting only individuals, but capable of systematically destroying families, societies, nations, and civilization itself. What's even more terrifying is that drugs have never been a sudden disaster. They are always packaged, glamorized, rationalized, and gradually normalized until one day the entire society realizes it has lost its way out. Therefore, what I want to do is not simply say drugs are harmful. Instead, I want to show you the complete picture of this bloody chain, where it comes from, how it operates, how it repeatedly rewrites history, and how it repeatedly devalues human dignity. First, let's understand the drug industry chain. Many people talk about drugs in terms of experience, feeling, and freedom. But now, I want you to temporarily shift your focus away from these highly personalized questions, like how do I feel after using it? Does it give me a certain experience? Does it have meaning for me personally? Not because personal experience is unimportant, but because any discussion that only stays at the personal level automatically obscures a larger reality. Drugs do not appear out of thin air. They are not created as tools of consciousness or as neutral substances detached from the real world. The presence of every gram of illegal drugs signifies an entire real industry chain, and each link in this chain systematically harms others. In many major drug-producing regions, drug crops do not grow in affluent, stable, or free environments, but are concentrated in areas of long-standing poverty, political instability, and resource scarcity. In these places, growing drug crops is often not a free choice, but a survival strategy forced upon them. The reason is simple. Drug crops are easier to monetize. Illegal markets offer higher returns. Middlemen control the channels, and farmers have no bargaining power. Refusing to cooperate could mean losing land, income, or even personal safety. This is not a romantic ancient tradition, but tragic reality under the modern global structure of inequality. While we are discussing experience, awakening, and consciousness expansion in a safer environment, few are willing to face the fact that some are bearing the dirtiest, most dangerous part for us under hunger, violence, and threats. From the moment drugs leave the land, they enter a world that cannot be glamorized. The circulation of illegal drugs signifies what? It means transnational smuggling. It means armed protection. It means violence, extortion, assassination, money laundering. It means the erosion of black market capital on normal society order. These are not isolated cases, but necessary conditions for the existence of the illegal drug market. As long as this trend remains, it will inevitably rely on violence and fear to keep running. This is not a moral judgment, but a structural fact. So, where do the exorbitant profits from drugs go? The massive profits generated by drugs never return to local communities. They flow towards gang weapons, money laundering systems, political corruption, violent expansion, transnational criminal networks. So, when you think you are just relaxing and your choices have nothing to do with others, in reality, your choices are sustaining extreme violence and chaos. In the real world, there are no such things as clean illegal drugs, conscious illegal drugs, or responsible illegal drug supply chains. It is impossible to ensure the safety of producers, protect the legitimate rights of transporters, ensure consumers' informed consent, guarantee the stability of quality and dosage, assume any form of responsibility for consequences. The only thing it is accountable for is profit. Now, let's look at the consumer end. Many people defend drug use by repeatedly emphasizing, I am just making my own choice without harming others. But this is a serious underestimation of the societal chain reaction. Addiction is never an isolated event. It affects family relationships, parenting responsibilities, job stability, the burden on the healthcare system, public safety, and the environment for the next generation to grow up in. Even if there is no immediate collapse, the risks will continue to be shifted outward. And who ultimately bears these costs? Not the drug dealers, not the black market, but the entire society. When we lay out this entire chain in front of us, one question becomes unavoidable. Can we really trust a system built on money as the sole goal, disregarding laws, resorting to violence, exploiting the vulnerable to be responsible for your awakening, your growth, your safety? This is an extremely real question. Some may say, but I really have received help from it, but I do feel that I have changed. I do not deny the authenticity of individual subjective experiences, but individual experiences cannot whitewash a structure built on systematic harm. Something, even if it produces short-term positive feelings for some, cannot be deemed legitimate of its very existence depends on the suffering, risks, and sacrifices of others. Some may try to distance themselves from this. That's someone else's problem. That's something I cannot control. But as long as you are the end point of this chain, you have become one of the reasons it continues. Not because you are bad, but because the market only responds to demand. When we truly see the full scope of the illegal drug industry chain, we will understand. This is not just a matter of whether you use it or not, or how you use it. It is a systemic problem that starts from poverty, uses violence as a means, ends in addiction, and incurs social costs. In the face of this reality, any narrative that romanticizes, spiritualizes, depoliticizes, or de-ethicizes drugs is not innocent. A truly trustworthy path should not require you to close your eyes, ignore others' pain, disregard structural harm, and only focus on your own feelings. Because awakening is never built on the cost of others. A more hidden layer built on this industry chain is the destruction of humanity. In many drug production chains, the producers themselves are also addicts. Drugs controlled them, making them unable to escape, using dependence as a substitute for wages, using fear as a substitute for the law. This is modern slavery. So, when you hear someone say, drugs are personal freedom, remember, at the source, there is no freedom. The permanent trauma caused by drugs to the nation, society, and individuals is beyond description. The bitter lesson of the Opium Wars that erupted in modern China serves as a stark reminder. A society ravaged by drugs does not need to be conquered. It will collapse on its own. This was the first clear evidence in human history that drugs can serve as a non-military weapon. Entering contemporary society, drugs have taken on a more respectable facet. legal drugs, medical progress, pain management, compassionate care. OxyContin is the most brutal example. Pharmaceutical companies, through carefully crafted rhetoric, have created a ludicrous yet deadly concept. You don't have to endure any pain. They invented a pain rating scale, encouraging doctors to continuously deny the risk of addiction, and even stating in internal documents. They said addiction is not a problem. We just need more medication. The result? Millions addicted, families shattered, communities devastated, ultimately leading to heavier drugs. This is a capital-driven drug war. And fentanyl. The proliferation of fentanyl is the inevitable result. When a society accepts the illusion of drugs as safe medication, when addiction is redefined as a medical issue, when responsibility is diluted indefinitely, what inevitably follows is massive deaths, irreversible generational trauma, collapse of public spaces, and erosion of social trust. The reality in cities where drug legalization trials have been conducted has already provided answers. Rising crime rates, declining public safety, a surge in addiction, and the engulfing of normal life spaces. History has repeatedly shown tolerating illegal drugs is not progress, it is self-destruction. So, what about hallucinogens? Let us openly acknowledge this fact. In the real world, hallucinogens do indeed belong to the drug system because they participate in the same black market, green market production and distribution chain. They are glamorized and rationalized using the same rhetoric. They create similar risks at the societal level, and they have been historically used for mind control, escapism, and cultural disintegration. Once culturally legitimized, history will begin to repeat itself rapidly. This is the most crucial point. Once society starts accepting the logic that, as long as it's for healing, exploration, spirituality, it can be an exception. What follows, history has repeated numerous times. Expanding indications, lowering usage thresholds, redefining risks as individual issues, rapid commercial intervention. This is how the OxyContin crisis started. The issue with hallucinogens is not whether they can induce mystical experiences, but rather, when a substance is used to replace long-term practice, ethical constraints, and real responsibilities, it inevitably follows the societal fate of drugs. There has never been a chemical substance that can profoundly alter consciousness, which, after widespread dissemination, did not eventually evolve into a societal disaster. Hallucinogens may create momentary insights, but civilization has never been built in moments. Any society that outsources awakening to chemical substances will ultimately pay an unbearable price. Thank you for your time, and I will see you in the next episode.